Hey, it's Dan, and welcome to Unified Gaming. So in this one, we're going to play Trash or Grab, the game where we check the golden and the weekly events to see are the items worth grabbing, or are they absolute trash. As always with this series, this is recorded on the weekend, the 7th of June, so if you are watching in the future, things will be different. For the Golden Vendor herself, you can locate her in Cyrodiil. She is found in the Daggerfall Covenant Northern High Rock Gate. If you're in the Aldmeri Dominion, she's down in the Western Elsewhere Gate. And if you're in the Ebonheart Pact, you can find her at the Southern Morrowind Gate. As always, we will check the other vendors too, but likes and comments are greatly appreciated, and if you want to stay up to date with the series, then do make sure that you are subscribed. And a massive thanks to all of the YouTube and Patreon members who do support the channel. They get exclusive content and much more. For the vendor this week, she is selling the following rings. She's selling the Automation set. This gives you loads of weapon and spell damage to your physical and bleed abilities. This is really good in the sense that it gives you a lot of damage compared to many 5-piece sets. The problem is this does not buff your healing, so for that reason I wouldn't rush to buy this. It's decent, it's just there are better sets in my opinion, and if you're going for pure damage, use Shattered Fate as a better crafted set. We then have the Defiler set. The Defiler set, this is a tradable set, so you can buy this from other players. When you deal critical damage, you summon a hunger that spews poison to all enemies in front. The damage is very, very low, but it is the poison in front of them. What's worth stressing is that this item doesn't actually show you the tooltip for the spawn time. It's roughly about 1 second, so when it procs, it has about a second where it shoots them, which means people can avoid it in many cases. I find it has around about 60 to 70% hit rate, so that's just worth noting. The main benefit for this is the stun. It's a free stun basically. You do lose a whole 5-piece set for that. The damage isn't great, but it's a lot of fun, especially if you pair this with Scavenging Demise and also Celestrix. It's a really fun just auto stun build, constantly trying to make people dodge stuff. We then have Widowmaker. When your poison fires, you do extra damage. It's not terrible, it's okay, but for PvP it's like bad. So the problem is that most of the time the damage over time you get from this isn't high enough, and you're better running just other sets to just increase the damage. We then have a Yaskuma's Ring. This increases your frost damage. It's really cool thematically. The problem is there's not many frost damage skills, so for that reason alone I would skip this. It's not worth buying, so yeah. We come to some shoulder pieces this week, and as always, if it is a shoulder piece, my advice typically is to consider buying it even if you wouldn't normally, just because it saves you having to farm the Undaunted keys. We have the Baron Saunders set. Applying a status effect grants you a stack of ambition, up to 3 stacks. When you gain 3 stacks, the stacks are removed and you gain ult. It is an ult gen set. It is not the best ult gen set, there are better sets in all honesty. You're better using something like Bloodspawn, it gives you ult and it also gives you armor. Gives you a bit of stam recovery on the one piece, so I wouldn't rush to buy this. The only nice thing is that one piece, it's a bit of a weird one, it's just loads of max resource, but if you're missing it and you want to fill up sticker book, by all means. For that reason alone, I will just buy one of them just to get the sticker book done, because, you know, makes it cheaper to transmute. We then have Kadara. This is a pretty good set actually. On dealing damage with a heavy attack, you create a meter whirlwind that slowly moves forward. It does damage, it does physical and shot damage, and your groups get like just cost reduction. It's pretty good in PvE in all honesty. Like on a healer it's not terrible, so I would buy this if you heal in like dungeons and stuff, because it's easy. It gives people just sustain, it makes it easier for the tank to do stuff, so it's nice. So for that reason I'll probably just buy it, and it's also a DLC set, so again, saves keys. So I would recommend buying this just to fill up your sticker book if you haven't got it, and you may use it. We now check the other vendors to see if there's any items worth grabbing. The kind of summary of the Golden Vendor this week is that it's a bit naff, it's a bit pants, in all honesty. There isn't any like really worth rushing to buy it in my opinion. So for that reason alone, I'd suggest maybe save your money unless you're really desperate to fill the sticker book. We're now going to hop on over to the Infinite Archive, and then we'll check the Scholarium and then the Telvar vendor. In the Infinite Archive, this is a place where you can use Archive Your Fortunes, a unique currency here. This will allow you to essentially buy leads, which are quite good. Some of the leads are really hard to get normally, so this is really worth looking at. You can also get some scripts, but they're not the ones to rush for, in my opinion. So, checking with Fire at all, he has the following stuff. You've got a lead for the Thorns Lark cladding. This mythic is really bad, in my opinion. So, even if you're like really after it, I wouldn't buy this. It's just not worth the fortunes. You also then have the Shadow Queen's cowl. Again, this is really bad. The Thorns Lark cladding, basically, when you run through people, you stun them. This one helps when you steal. You're not going to use these mechanics often, in all honesty. So, for that reason, just save your fortunes. It's not worth it. As for the scripts this week, you've got Innovation. So I wouldn't rush to get this. It reduces people's crit damage, but you're not going to use this in all honesty. Dispel, similar problem here. You're not going to use this. Trauma, it's not bad. It does reduce people's healing. And Growing Impact is pretty decent. So just showing the superstar quickly. This is a crafting setup I was working on. But for those scripts, the Dispel can be used on Trample. And it basically removes shields, so it can be nice against like really big sorcerers. And it hits loads of people. The problem is it has to be timed. It has like a slight cast time, so that doesn't make it the easiest to use. And if you use it on Elemental Explosion, it only removes area effects. It doesn't actually remove the shields. So you either basically use it as a way to cleanse the area, or you use it as a way to remove shields. As for the Growing Impact, you can use this typically on Contingency. And you can put on a buff like, say, Intellect and Endurance, which is pretty decent. You put on Healing to get a heal or a shield. Let's go shield. And then Growing Impact means that when you walk into it, this affix will apply to you in groups. And it'll give you basically a dot. So this is nice, because this normally lasts like 20 seconds. But you can make this last essentially 28 if you sit inside it. Because you get one last tick off this. So this becomes really, really nice. It makes it easier to use for like a group buff. So if you're doing group stuff, that might be one that's worth like sort of looking at. And then the other one we were looking at was called Trauma. Trauma is more again on the anti-heal side. So here it is. When you hit people, it puts health absorption on them. So what that means is when they take damage, any healing they would get within that window would be absorbed, and they don't get the healing. So you basically use this as a way to stop people healing. The skill takes ages to cast on Explosion. This has a long, like a low value, but also it's only 3 seconds too, so you're not going to use it massively on there. And on Trample, it's a similar story here. It's much easier to use because Trample you can cast quicker, so you could basically spam this and just stop a group healing. It's good against ball groups in all honesty. So if you're playing against a ball group and you have somebody spamming this into that ball group a lot, so Trauma, you can then put on like Cavalier's Charge, which increases the damage of it, thus increasing the health absorption. And then you can put on like Off Balance, you can then heavy attack stun them. You can do things like Mangle to reduce their max health. This becomes a really good way to essentially lower people's health, lower people's healing, and also just make it easy to counter them if they've got lots of heal stacks going. Is it the best? No, but it's worth considering. The only downside with these is they are quite expensive. So I wouldn't rush to buy these, like these are okay. And it's worth just noting that these are quite cheap for my character because I know this already on the account. Normally they're 5 times the price. So the first time you know it, it's going to be 5 times the cost, then it will reduce drastically as you've seen. We're now going to go and hop on over to the Scholarium in Avea. Here we check what scripts are for sale, are they worth buying, and then more importantly, how can you use them. As always with this series, if you like what I've done so far, do let me know in the comments. And maybe I've missed something with a set, maybe I've overlooked something. Let me know below. Once you get into the Scholarium, it is worth stressing that you must have completed the first wing. This will open up this entire area, and then this wing here will open up the NPC. The NPC is called Fernando. He's down over towards the east side, and he sells a range of scripts that do rotate week on week. All of the Grimoires are always there, and the scripts this week are Intellect and Endurance. This is really good, so buy this if you can. Pull, it's not bad, decent for PvE. Anchorette's potency, this is bad. This is just ult gen using soul gems. It's not worth it. Why would you use soul gems for ult? You got better scripts. So my recommendation from this alone is this internet endurance is worth buying. If you buy it and you don't use it, what you can do is go into your bank and you can deposit the scripts. I don't have any on me, but you can see I've been doing this to have a nice cash for when I get a new character, or when I go, actually, maybe something comes up that I really want to use a different day, or maybe I want to change a build, especially with subclassing now. These are much more useful to do this. And you can see I've already banked a lot of these because you never know when this is going to be a useful thing to have. The way in which you use that one, in all honesty, is mainly on contingency. And here you would do a contingency, healing or shield is the typical one. You then do Gladiator's Tenacity for damage reduction or opportunity for more damage. These are like the best two. And then you use regen. On a sorcerer, this basically gives you a burst heal with damage reduction, and it also gives you regens. So it's a fantastic skill for PvP sorks. The final place we check now is also the Tower Vendor. And if you like my content and you do want to support, I do have a Patreon and YouTube member area where you get exclusive content, early access and much more. There are details below, so if you are interested in those things, then do have a look. Once you get into the Imperial City, you are looking for the place that has the Fire and Anvil banner hanging down. This will vary from like side to side which way it is. And it is worth stressing that this vendor is incredibly expensive, like stupidly expensive. And there isn't many times that I'd recommend buying something from here, but they have had a few things in the past. One of them being the Death Dealers lead a couple weeks back that comes from Dragonstar Arena. So you was able to skip all of Dragonstar Arena for just getting some Telvar. I thought that was a pretty good trade. This week we have two sets, Curse Eater and Night Slayer. These can be bought from other players, so don't waste your Telvar in my opinion, it is not worth it. But if you are curious, Curse Eater, when you heal yourself or an ally, you remove 3 effects from them. If an effect is removed this way, the person gets some Magicka. It's pretty decent, it's a good like group set, mainly for PvP, and you just use it on like Radiating Regen or Echoing Vigor. You have Night Slayer. Your fully charged heavy attacks deal an additional 8% of the enemy's max health, adds Oblivion damage, and it can't deal more than 8,000. This is an interesting set. Oblivion damage basically bypasses shields and armor. It's like pure damage, it's true damage, which is really nice. 8% is quite low, and the charge on the heavy attacks is also quite low. This is only really effective on dual builds in my opinion when you stack the other Oblivion sources, so the scribing systems with the soul gems using Anchorette's cruelty. You need both the Wield Soul and the Soul Burst, and you also need other sets as well like Slowed Semblance. So it's kind of more of a niche set in all honesty. It's fun to use, but it's not going to be amazing. We then have 2 leads for sale. We have Belzar's Band. This is a set that increases your light attacks. They only work in melee, so this doesn't work on ranged builds, so I'd skip this for that reason. And for PvE, they're better sets anyway. We then have Talk Strand of Law. This is a set for the Talk of Tone of Constancy. This is a pretty decent mythic, but the problem is there are better sets nowadays that makes this less useful. And so with that in mind, I wouldn't like rush to buy this in most cases because you're not going to use it. It's while your stamina is less than 50% health, it increases your Magicka recovery by 450. If your Magicka is less than 50%, it increases your stamina recovery by 450. It's basically, imagine like Dark Deal or Dark Exchange on a sorcerer where you swap one resource for the other. It does that but with your sustains. When your main resource is low on your primary, it boosts your secondary regen. If it's low on your secondary, it boosts your primary regen. It's not terrible, but Wretched Vitality exists and that makes this less useful. So yeah, I wouldn't rush to get this in my opinion. The one thing to also note is that this does come from world bosses in the Alkiri Desert, so again, it's easy to farm. We then have some scripts down here. We have Mangle, Poison, Restore Resources, and Knight's Valor. In my opinion, none of these are like super good, so I wouldn't really rush to buy any of these. Restore Resources you can get from just doing the Mage Guild as part of the scribing system, so don't buy this. Knight's Valor is nice, but it's a very niche skill, so this works on the Sword and Shield one. So if you go to your skills onto Shield Throw, put anything you like. If you want a bash build, you might do something like frost damage or maybe immobilize, physical damage even. And then you can put on like swiftness, Knight's Valor is generally what you use. This is more for bashers. It does damage and it bashes the target. The problem is this doesn't increase your bash damage, it's just free damage. So you will often find that people would only use this as like an interrupt essentially. So for that reason alone, you're probably going to use one of the other ones. So I wouldn't like rush to get this, it's like my sort of take. But that's it there, guys. That's kind of what they have. It's very midweek, in all honesty. There's nothing like that I'd rush to buy personally. Like if you're really desperate for the stuff shown, get it. But if it's me, I'd probably skip the stuff. I've only bought a few things just for the sticker book, and that's it. I will call the video here. I will be going live on YouTube tonight, showing some subclass and shenanigans. There are lots of things you can do. I'm also going to show how to level up really fast. So if you want to see all that stuff, then subscribe so you can see the notification when it comes out. And as always, a massive thank you to all the YouTube and Patreon members who get exclusive content. They get early access to all the builds and much more. If you want to support myself, there's details down below. But as always, I want to say a massive thank you. I'll catch you in the next stream on the next video. So thanks for watching, guys. Take care and bye.